I'm going to get started, and I've got a couple of things that I want to talk about today, and really it's all centered around just kind of content strategy a little bit, but I kind of want to talk through something that Brian and Kendra do. So Brian Cook is the broker at Advanced. He's been in the industry for over 20 years, and he and his teammate Kendra have run it was originally a radio show, and it's since they had a podcast as well, but it was a radio show first. Um, they've done that for about 5 years or so now, and so they constantly hear out around town. They go to Walmart and they hear, "Oh my gosh, I heard you on the radio, and you're like a celebrity." And every week. And so it's been something that Brian has tried to like could judge the value of, but can't really figure it out except the day that he has that question, is this viable or are we just wasting our time? Somebody says, I can't believe you guys talked about XYZ on the radio, or I did not even know that that was a thing. And so it just keeps coming to the forefront. And so about a year ago, whenever I got hired on and hit as his growth strategist, I said, hey, let's rethink this deal, because what they were doing was they were going to the radio station every Thursday night at 5:30 p.m. and recording a show. He would have his phone up in the corner of the room, and he would hit go on Facebook Live, and they would do a Facebook Live and simulcast kind of with the radio. And I said, hey, I mean, this is okay, but I think we could be doing this better, because you guys are just spending 2 hours a month doing this deal, but you're not really getting anything out of it on the other side. So you're kind of just, I'm not saying you're wasting your time, but maybe we can be using your time better, because time is just one commodity that we can't get more of. We all have 24 hours in a day. So my big question is, and what I consult with other businesses on, is how can we make your time go farther? What are things that we can do? What are things that we can do today to take that time and maximize it? What are pieces of content that we can develop once that can be recycled and reused time and time and time again? And so it's not necessarily a method shift, but it's a mentality shift. So this is kind of what I want to talk about today. And I'm going to share my screen real quick, and then I'm going to kind of talk through what our process is for the Brian and Kendra show, because it is a podcast, yes, but it's also feeding Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube and blog posts and newspaper editorials. How on the earth is one thing doing that? Well, I want to talk about it. And this can actually be used in a bunch of different things that have nothing to do with podcasts, because I know we're all not starting podcasts, right? But we're all doing marketing. So I'm going to share my screen, and can you guys see this? Does it say content strategy on your screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, mine's blank.
Yours is blank. Wonderful. So talking about
Thanks,
It says that
technology.
you started sharing. It says you started sharing your screen, but that's all it says.
Started sharing. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm starting the right one here. Talking about technology, and it's always not my friend. You guys feel that way yourself? Let's try
Yes.
this one. Can you guys see this one?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. We'll just go with this one then. Okay, so I'm going to share this content strategy, and this is just an ideology that I have in developing content. And so this can really be taken and used in any marketing efforts, for any platform, for just about anything that you can think of. And so number one, and you guys can screenshot this, or I can send this to you guys later, or whatever you want to do. It's really simple, and this
You
is all
send
stuff.
those?
I can, yes. I'll send
Right.
I'll send the two that have the content strategy. I might just send an email with it listed out because it's super simple. This is all stuff you guys are
Okay.
probably already doing. And so, number one, your content strategy, we're going to the beginning, right? So, what are we going to do in this marketing effort? Number one is you want to know your audience. You want to know who you're talking to, who you're trying to target. Is this piece of content? Is this event? Is this fill in the blank? Is it for buyers? Is it for sellers? Is it for first time home buyers? Is it for veterans? Is it for seniors? Is it for whoever? You got to know who you're wanting to talk to before you develop the idea, right? Number two is you want to know your context. So your context would be your market, right? Things that work in Woodward, Oklahoma, or things that make sense colloquially to us, being an oil field town. We're an Oklahoma town. There's a lot of cowboy culture, like what are some things, what is a piece of marketing that works for us? We're going to think about that. So whenever we go to these events or we attend other masterminds or we listen to podcasts and stuff, I think that's the filter that we're all listening through anyways, right? You're like, that's great. How does it apply to me? But I think you also have to think of, well, that's fantastic. But I also need to think, what's the context for this piece as well? So am I talking about the new NAR settlement that's happening and who am I talking to in that? And XYZ, right? So know your audience, know your context. Number three would be you want to develop the idea after you know who you're talking to and you know what it's about in your context. So a lot of people say that again. Oh, sorry.
So sorry.
No, you're fine. So number three, I think a lot of people actually start at this third step. They develop the idea first. They have an idea for XYZ and they hit go on it and then they backfill number one and two. I mean, I think you have the idea, right? You initially have an idea for an event, you have an idea for a social media post, you have an idea for a bomb video or a billboard or a mailer, but really having the idea is just the start. And then I really think you want to ask yourself that first question is, who is my audience? Then who's my context? And then develop the idea out of those two things that you define. Because I think what's going to happen is once you have those couple of things solidified, then your idea is going to form faster and it's actually going to be a more full-fledged idea. So number four is you want to execute, right? You want to do the thing. Done beats perfect. There's such a thing as good enough. I'm probably speaking to a couple of perfectionists on this call, the other five of you that, you obsess over the thing. Is it good enough? And I'm calling the kettle black here, pot, kettle, right? This is something that I struggle with all the time. I was listening to a podcast actually this morning where a guy was talking about he is clinically diagnosed OCPD. It's like, what's the P? Well, it's obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And so he said the difference is between OCD and OCPD is OCPD. You obsess, you redo it, you rehash, you rewrite the thing, you constantly redo it, but you eventually end up completing it and you succeed at it. The difference is that there's probably a point where you just blew past good enough and you just wasted your time making it 0.1% better that nobody's ever going to see or appreciate. And so I think it's important for everybody to hear that there is such a thing as good enough. I'm not saying to get lazy, but I'm saying at some point you got to hit the go button or all this time is just wasted. And so number five is you want to test, refine, and repeat. And maybe I should put a sixth one in here that says like, if it sucked, throw it away. Like just on to the next thing. I talked to a lot of people and even agents in our office that are worried like, oh, maybe this photo of this property wasn't that good. And I retook it a couple times or I don't really like the way I looked in this deal. And I just encourage them by saying it's going to be buried in your feed anyways. Post it, move on, do the thing. And I'm not saying that it's not good or that it shouldn't be good, but if we get stuck at number three and we never move on to number four, then there's nothing good that comes from that, right? And so out of that, I kind of want to talk through a couple of the systems that we use and what we're doing with this Brian and Kendra Show podcast. And I think now that you kind of know the context of this and how we generate this idea, once I start talking about the Brian and Kendra Show, you can just fill in your marketing effort, right? So these are just some of the systems we use. And so I threw this together at 1:56 p.m. just now because I had 2 photo listing appointments today that ran back to back. And so there's more systems that we use other than this, but this is just what was on the top of my mind. So Opus.pro, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. You've probably heard Tom talk about this. You've probably heard other agents talk about this. If you've listened to Jason Pantana say anything about video and using cut downs and things like that, he's talked about this. So Opus.pro is an AI video cut down tool. It can take a long form video like a podcast and it can cut it down for you. It will cut it down to a 9:16 or phone aspect ratio size clip with captions, and it will optimize it for social media. It will scan through the thing, it will transcribe the clip itself, and it will tell you, hey, this one has a 99 viral score. This is probably going to do better on social media because of these aspects. And here's how you can improve next time. It's awesome. So from our 30-minute podcast, we get about 15 or 20 clips, and it takes me it takes Opus.pro longer to process the clip than it does for me to publish it to YouTube. I do no editing on this thing. So we also use a platform called Descript. I'm sure you guys have maybe heard of it. If you haven't, it's an AI transcription tool. You throw an audio or a video file into it, and it will transcribe it for you. Now, one of the problems we run into, and Nadine might identify with this too, we have a little bit of a drawl, right? We have an accent. And so sometimes it misspells things and we have to go in and correct it. But for the most part, it's pretty spot on. And so we use this. It actually has an AI engine built into it that can develop YouTube descriptions, blog posts, newspaper editorials, whatever you want, just right inside Descript. I'm not even talking Chat GPT. Of course, we use Chat GPT for a lot of stuff, but I don't have to leave this platform to do that. So Loomly is our social media manager. We use Canva for name it, right? We use Canva for everything. And Podbean is our podcast host. We upload everything to Podbean. It now has a new AI kind of scanner and it can make chapter markers from your podcast and things like that. But it publishes to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and a bunch of others that I couldn't even name off to you. So those are the systems that we use. And we have a ton of other things that we do. And those are just like top of mind for this conversation. So really quick, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. And I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody on the waiting room there. I don't think I did. So I want to talk through really quick, and then I'm going to throw it to you guys and we can have this conversation. So whenever we develop a podcast, the first thing that we do is we kind of think, okay, we know our audience already. Brian and Kendra know our audience. It's Woodward. We say we're hyper local real estate. This is a local real estate podcast. We're not talking to anybody really outside of Northwest Oklahoma. And so they use a lot of local language. They shout out a lot of local businesses. If somebody from Oklahoma City were to listen to our podcast, I mean, they would probably get some value out of it, right? Because these are 2 industry veterans talking about real estate industry things. But really, when we're talking about our median home price and the inventory that we have right now and how home inspections look in a story from, local inspector, you know, John, just say, like, it might not make sense. That might not translate. So we're talking to our local real estate market, and then we develop the idea out of that context. And so what we've been doing is they're no longer going to the radio station at 5:30 every Thursday night to record the radio show and then turning that into a podcast later. We've actually reverse engineered it. So Kendra actually got remarried last year, and Lo and behold, she wanted her Thursday evenings back. And I was like, I've got you. This is what we're going to do. So we actually started batch recording episodes. So instead of recording one at a time, we record 4 episodes in 1 week. So we just have like an hour time block, right? I don't make Brian and Kendra sit down for 2 hours out of a day because they would get nothing done, right? We're not sacrificing anything really to do this as far as the day to day or anything like that. We're not putting other listings on the line or not taking phone calls or anything like that. We set aside an hour um, a, a day, twice a week. It's like the last or the third Tuesday and Thursday of every month. And we say, these are our record times. So we record 2 episodes at a time. And then we go ahead and publish those and we schedule them out. So out of one podcast, it's a 30-minute episode. We develop a YouTube video that's 30 minutes long, a Facebook Live video that's 30 minutes long. We get several Instagram and Facebook reel clips. We don't post all of them. We kind of save the best, forget the rest, right? And a lot of them get posted to YouTube. A decent amount get posted to TikTok. And then we also create a blog post and a newspaper editorial out of each one. Now, we don't necessarily use all of that every single time because we have other things that are generating blog posts. We have other content that we're pushing out. Maybe one week I just totally drop the ball and I forget to post the Facebook reel, right? Like, cause I'm just a man. I'm not perfect by any means, but I could go back and I have 20 to choose from, right? So I'm a video editor. My previous life, I was actually an audio engineer. And so um, I do have the skill sets to do this and fulfill it and all those kinds of things. So I film the thing, I edit the thing, and I post the thing. But the idea behind this is that we can take this 30-minute time piece that we've developed this content with, and now we can make it go farther. Now we can post it to Facebook and Instagram and use this AI tool, Opus.pro. And I think there's another one called, I can't even remember what it's called. There's a couple that do the same thing, right? But it can generate a month's worth of content for us if we wanted from that 1 30-minute time slot. So I guess my question to you would be, how can you make your time go farther? How can you give your marketing efforts more legs, so to speak? Like something like using a podcast or like a video post, or maybe you just put your phone up and you're an industry expert and somebody asks you a question about, say, the NAR settlement or what interest rates are doing, and you just talk for 10 minutes into the phone, and then you split that up, and now you have 2 weeks worth of Instagram reels, and it took you 10 minutes. I would just say it's not necessarily just a method shift, but I think it's really a mentality shift. It's thinking, okay, this doesn't have to be a singular use. I can take this Google review and I can make a Canva post, and I can also post that to my Google business profile. And I can also maybe make a reel about it too. Right. So I think a lot of us are already doing this, but I just want to encourage you with that. So I'll send you that content strategy, and I'll send you a couple of these systems that we use. And if you guys have any questions about that, like, you've got my email, my virtual door is open. And if you're in Woodward, I would say come on through, but we're in the middle of nowhere, so that's not going to happen. So I want to open it up this time, and I want to just throw it to you guys. And I know I had a challenge for everybody to kind of bring something to the table. And so now's that time. If you guys have questions for me about any of this stuff, let's open this deal up. Not everybody all at
I
once.
definitely have questions.
Go
I
for
have
it.
questions if that's okay. So I've been wanting to do a podcast for a really long time, and so I've just never done it. I think for one, not like of how to do it for one, how to even get started, and then knowing the content. that you do. So could you give me an example of maybe one of the podcasts that y'all do?
Yeah, sure. So let me actually find our YouTube channel here, and I will just
Oh, good. Yeah, share if
show
you can share it.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just show you kind of what one might look like. Let's see. Uh, Switch account.
Do y'all have your guests come in or do you just do it remotely?
So our guests, because we are a hyper local podcast, they usually come in. We have
Okay.
wanted to develop a new podcast from the office that's more just real estate centric, and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily maybe hyper local, but we have not done that yet. We have a concept for it, but we have not greenlit that thing yet. So um, let me see here. Does Google ever do the thing to you guys where it like signs you out of everything all at once? Or am I the only
Right.
one that has like a million Google accounts and it does this too? So let me see here. Signing in right here. Okay, let me show you guys our channel. And here's the thing too. I want to encourage everybody. We do not have like crazy views. We have, and this is actually awesome. I think they have 27 subscribers on their YouTube channel alone. I think maybe a handful of followers on Podbean. Um, so I don't think that is the goal. I think the goal is to present ourselves as the knowledge broker, right? So let me go ahead and share this screen real quick. Okay, everybody see our YouTube page here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our YouTube podcast look like this. It's a single camera angle, and I'll just click on this one. This one was actually published yesterday. All right, and so it kind of starts out with just a general little logo thing, and this is actually filmed right in my office. Let me actually stop sharing really quick. We filmed this right here.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So this is my office, and man, I wonder. Let me see here. So we actually have do this. So that right there, that's the podcast set, and we actually have a couple lights here that light that up. They're kind of dim right now. I've got this cool looking
Mm-hmm.
couch in my office, a couple of lamps. They're all film lights, and so I can control them with my phone, and I have presets on them, and I click go, and it just kind of lights everything up. And my camera sits like right here. And I have to squeeze in behind my desk, and my office is about 14 by 14 or so. And so we do everything in here. It's all done right here. We don't go to a separate place to do it. Um, Sorry, my wife was calling. And so yeah, so this is what it looks like. It's about 30 minutes, and I have their names and their phone numbers on the bottom of the screen, and our one of our URLs. Brian owns like how many URLs do you own, Brian? Like 150. One of his many URLs up at the top. He is into digital real estate as well. Um, Owns a lot of URLs. So we have this is what the set looks like, and it's super simple. And the cool thing is about Opus.pro is if I go back here and I go to shorts, it is doing all of this on its own. So it is automatically splitting Brian and Kendra into top and bottom. It's automatically adding captions. And I can actually have it automatically reframe the deal too. And so Opus does all of this. So if I go to opus.pro right now, I can actually show you guys. Let me see if it will sign in for me here. Oh gosh.
So do you get started on this Podbean? Is that where you kind of start?
So we actually capture
Or,
it. So Podbean is just the publisher. So
okay,
Podbean is it's
okay, you
just
record it
where,
and then,
yeah, it's our host. It blasts it out to everything. So we
okay.
record it on this camera
Mm-hmm,
with these mics into
mm-hmm.
a Rode Podcaster. And if you guys want a whole other thing, like episode or something, or like a breakdown on this stuff, like I can do that. If you guys want to talk through that, we can. Um, but I want to make sure that we get to some other questions too. So, but man, all of this stuff, it is all done for me. I upload the video to Opus and it does all of these things. It gives me an ability to just post it straight to YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And I've got, let me see how many I have out of this. 21 reels from one 30-minute podcast.
Wow.
Are all of these reels good? No. Do I post all of them? No. But I could. I think to some degree, probably less is more. I don't want to drown my Facebook, right? But I post probably 4 or 5 of these a week to YouTube and to TikTok because that's what their algorithm favors. So let me see. I got a chat here. Can we do one with our mastermind group, record some of the meetings with topics? Kristen, I think that's a great idea. So are you saying like a
Yeah,
actually
I just feel like what you're showing us is awesome. And
Yeah,
I was reading on another page that people leverage the Tom Ferry coaching as a way to broaden their network. Like they may not be part of Compass or Keller Williams nationally or whatever, but they are, if they're a boutique firm or in a small market, here we're networking with other small market people and like learning really what's going on in other parts of the country. And it might just be a cool way to learn how to do it. And then also, you know, also share that we're really networking, not just in our markets, but outside of our markets to see what's working in other parts of the country.
I think that's a great way to think, and I think that's a great idea. So would you guys think like turning like this Zoom call, say, for example, like into a podcast episode? Is that what you guys are kind of talking or you're thinking about, Kristen? Or
I mean, that was my concept because then we could kind of see for those of us who don't do this and who are petrified of video, like me, I'm petrified of it, but I'm really passionate about the data and the statistics, but I don't know, my lighting's bad. Like I've got just kind of done, kind of silly stuff that I worry about, but like I love delving into the data and the solds and the what's happened and what might be coming. But I would get scared and anxious about microphones and the right lighting. But if we did it as a group, I don't know, it sounds like it'd be cool.
I think that's a really cool idea. And that, I mean, it's true. This stuff is intimidating, right? And it's even sometimes intimidating for a guy like me who halfway knows how
Can
to
I say something?
use most of it. Yes, go for it, Brian.
So, hey, how we got started with our podcast? Kendra is my real estate partner. And she came in one day and she's like, man, we should do a radio show or a podcast. Well, I didn't have the equipment to do the podcast. So we called the local radio station. We drove down there and we caught a buddy down there, Branson Brewer, and said, hey, we're thinking about recording a real estate show. Can we use your studio? And he's like, well, do you want it on the radio too? And I'm like, well, sure, we'll do it on the radio. And he goes, how about Thursday? And we said, deal. And then that's how we started. And so we started doing it. We would record it with our iPhone. And then he would send us the radio script. He would send us the radio transcript. And then we would merge the iPhone video with the audio. It's so complicated with the iPhone. And this was just like 2 years ago, pre-Nathan. And then it just we kept getting a little bit better equipment and better mics. And then we just solely did our iPhone. Then we started doing Facebook Live. And then I would steal the video off Facebook Live. And then Nathan comes along and makes it highly efficient before we can break it all up. But you don't have to make it complicated to get started is what I'm trying to say. Set up your iPhone, record the darn thing, Facebook Live, get started, and then start buying equipment. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be complicated. It's good practice.
it's true. So
Only
Brian,
7 people are going to listen to it anyway.
7 people are going to listen to it live, but there's a ton of people that come up to you in Walmart and are like, I just heard, I can't believe you guys are on the radio. I heard an episode, and they're going to say something from like 4 months ago. And you're going to be like, oh, did we talk about that thing? Yeah, I guess we did. But I think you made a good point, Brian. And so this is something that I get caught up with. But doing what you can with what you have is sometimes better than not doing anything at all. And so even if it's we all have iPhones. We can all start a podcast today by just talking into the thing, like literally opening up your voice memo app and speaking into it and then posting it somewhere. There's your podcast. It's easier than ever to do this kind of stuff. And so you don't have to get hung up with all of this kind of things right away. And some podcasts look like trash. I'm sorry. I like the Joe Rogan podcast, but I think the video quality sucks. The audio quality is great, but they're doing their thing. It doesn't even matter. So let's see. Wendy, I think I might have jumped ship on you too soon. Did you have anything else that you wanted to ask on that?
Oh, I'll probably have a lot more questions, but I don't want to dominate the conversation. So maybe
Okay.
I'll just email you.
Email me. With any of this stuff, as far as
No, go, Wendy. Go, Wendy, go.
Well, I will say I was terrified too of video, but a few years ago I realized that I was just going to have to do it. So I forced myself to do it, and I still don't like it. And I still think I sound like a hick when I'm on video, when I hear myself, but I just try not to listen. But my question, so maybe that would be the thing. Maybe we can all like help each other, like get past our fears and just do it, right? And just maybe we don't listen to it. Maybe we just post it, right?
Yeah, to some degree, like you want to make sure like the thing worked, right? You're not just like,
Well, yeah, right.
and like you post something with no audio.
Although you might get a lot of likes with that.
It could be kind of funny, right? It could be kind of funny. So there's a bunch of different tech that we use to do things and make it sound better and do different things. And I can talk gear and whatever all day. I'm a gear head and all that stuff. However, I think the big thing is there's 2 ideas here. Well, 2 other ideas other than my whole content strategy nonsense. So doing what you can with what you have and kind of eliminating your excuses. Tom also talks about like the 4 major fears that people have. And one of those is the opinions of others. And so you kind of got to ditch that whenever you're doing video, right? You kind of have to ditch the idea of like, oh, people are going to think I sound stupid or I look terrible or whatever, or like you just kind of have to get rid of that. And then you have to just be able to speak confidently on whatever you're going to talk about. But I think the other thing is you want to do things that nobody is doing so you can do things nobody else is doing. So if there's not a lot of other realtors that are putting forth the knowledge into the audio space, if there's not a lot of other people in your area that are owning the video side really well, or say maybe they are, say maybe, Jane Doe across the street is just killing it with videos. Well, what's a different kind of video that you could do that maybe she's not doing, or maybe he's not doing, that could set yourself apart, right? So you can do things somebody else is doing. So there's, a ton of room for all of this. There's a ton of room for all of this. I talk to people all the time that say, I want to start this business or I want to do this thing, but somebody's already doing it. There's like billions of people in the world. There might be 10,000 people in your town, but there's a bunch of people that are looking for the exact thing that you have to offer, you have to say. Like I even struggle talking about this. Like I am no expert on any of this stuff. And I was even just like, man, what do I talk about today? Like we do this podcast thing. And I feel like most of this has already been said, but guess what? I was out of time this week. And so this is what you guys got, but I feel like it's valuable. Like I feel like there's a lot of things that seem kind of elementary to me, but maybe they're not. maybe I've just been doing this thing too long and I have this curse of knowledge that I'm not even aware of. And so hopefully that's encouraging. Let's see. I mean, I feel like I'm dominating my own conversation. I want to hear from you guys. What are some things that you're doing in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of months? I mean, we can breach the whole, god awful NAR topic if we want to, and talk of what is your plan for all of this, and or not, and we can just leave that to the side and
No.
just stamp it with a don't panic, it'll all be okay. What do you guys think? What do you want?
Somehow I lost. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I got you, Nadine. Yep, we can hear you.
I just have an N there where my now I love monograms, but I just have an N there, not me. I don't know what happened.
Oh
Maybe I
yeah,
need
I'm
to
not
click on
sure.
because I was on there. I don't know. I don't know. But what is everybody's take on this craziness? Because I've had a week full of, hey, you've got this percent, and my buyer needs to pay me 3%, and they're not going to make up that. Like, I've got a for sale by owner. He said, list it, but I'm only going to do 2%, which most of the time we get 2.5 or 3 here. And I put it out there too. And his buyer's not going to make an offer because he's not going to pay the 1% difference. And he has a buyer's agency agreement for 3%. I mean, this is just crazy. And how are we talking about commissions when 2 weeks ago we never could have talked about commissions? I mean,
know.
it's crazy. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It is different, and I'm new to this whole industry on just all of the, you know the real estate specific side, right? Like my whole expertise is on everything else, and then it's real estate. And so even for me on somewhat of the outside looking in, even being on the inside, right? It's it's weird. It's weird. So like what are we doing
It
to
is weird.
kind of educate our people around that, especially in small markets, right? Because for us, I mean, we haven't done buyer broker agreements really on the regular ever. It's not a state requirement. I know in Kansas it is. Um, but
It
that's, I
is
mean,
here, or we
that's
do.
coming.
Our office does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, our office was already doing buyer rep agreements. So, but I mean, how many times we get those signed that we actually make the buyer pay the difference? Never. Like, we never really do, even though we have those signed. But now, we already are seeing them, Nadine, in our market. They're offering 0% commission on MLS. So I guess it's coming. I don't understand it because everything's been geared towards the buyer, protecting the buyer, and buyer, everything was in favor of the buyer. And now they're putting all this pressure back on the buyer, which I don't know. I don't understand it. So
And then what
I've
about
got an agent.
because VA buyers borrowing cannot pay commission.
right, right.
So that's
Right.
discriminating, y'all. You think about it. That's discriminating against their VAs.
It
Bless their,
is.
it's wrong. I don't know.
Kristen, did you have a
Hey,
question?
Oh, I was just gonna say last summer I joined, so I switched brokerages a year ago, and I'm in a larger brokerage, but a smaller market. And the top producing agent in my office, she will get 6%, and she takes 3.5% in offers, whatever. She gives the buyer side, she has given them a smaller than 50% split basically on everything. And she says it's because of, photography or like whatever reason. She's been doing this for a while. So I've gotten accustomed in the last year to like checking with the listing agent to see what specifically it's going to be, because you can't see their side. You only see what
Right.
the buy side is, or what the cooperating person is. And I just feel like there's probably a lot more of that. Um, but there was an
Yeah.
interesting podcast. I don't know if anybody listens to the New York Times Daily Show, but like 2 days ago, Michael Barbaro did the daily on this NAR thing. And the woman who did the reporting was just like, I don't know. She just was so pro the Missouri buyers who or sellers who started the whole thing. I was kind of shocked. I just listened to it this morning. I didn't listen to it when it came out, but a friend sent it to me. And it's kind of mind blowing. And Nadine, to your point, like the VA thing, it does feel pretty discriminatory. It's just not going to bring, I don't feel like it's going to bring housing prices down because, it's not going to, her whole thing was like, it's going to make the housing market much more affordable. Like, I don't know that that's even really that's even the case. But
Right.
anyway, I was shocked by it. So if you get a chance, listen to that. It's one more thing to listen to. But like Tom said, or the stuff I see on Facebook, I couldn't go to that call, but it says read the 100-page report. Oh
Right.
boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, so if you guys have resources like that, like, hey, this is a pretty good podcast, informative stuff, like email the group, right? Like this, I mean, this is a bi-monthly call, but I mean, we have a lot of life that happens between now and 2 weeks from now. And so if there's something that comes up that's like, man, I think this would be valuable for other people in this mastermind, right? Like if I'm the only person that's like pulling this thing along or trying to add value to this deal, like it's not going to go very far. The benefit is in everybody else kind of sharing and pitching in. So like Kristen, if you have that link or whatever, email it to the group and just say like, hey, this is the podcast I talked about, shoot it away. And so I kind of want to steer away from this real quick for the last 15, 14 minutes or so. And I kind of want to throw a question out. And I would love for everybody to pipe in. And I would like for you guys to tell me what your top 2 best lead sources are. And if you don't know what they are, and I would just, parentheses that with a why do they call you? So if you can answer that, that'd be awesome. What are your top 2 best lead sources?
I would say on ours, it's referral base. We're very big on referral base from our past clients. And then we do have another, we use Commissions Inc. for our other lead source. So those would probably be our 2 that we get really good leads off of that as well.
I don't pay for leads. I was a Zillow person way back in the day. I'm in a really small town of 5,000 people, 80 miles from the nearest Walmart, so it's a very encapsulated town. So buyer leads and seller leads are quite different. The seller leads are usually referrals, sphere of influence, or just people who have seen my marketing and are like, hey, that's how I want my house to be marketed. Or my buyer leads are almost all Google, Google PPC, Google organic, the whole 9 yards. I've been feeding the Google beast forever. I have a virtual assistant part-time and we post every single day. I don't do the 3 times a day like somebody was talking about, but every single day we post something on Google My Business. And so consistently rate. So I'm an owner broker, but I'm also now my team left, so I'm a solo agent. So, but my website is still higher than Berkshire Hathaway, Coldwell Banker, and all the others. I'm the only indie broker left. So just been feeding the Google beast.
That's awesome. I want to pick your brain on some stuff later because we are our top secret inner office strategy is to own the Google search. And so we're
Mhm.
doing some things to do that, but there's things that we could be doing better. And Google
Okay.
is freaking complicated.
Yes.
So
I, I I need help with the Google, and I also need help with the website because I'm doing a new website through Agent Image, and I'm behind on that. So I need to get that website done so that then I can post more on YouTube and link to my website. So yeah, I need help on all the
Well,
things.
and it's interesting because so I have Sierra Interactive, and I used to have GGMS as my plugin, but I now use Blue Door. Um, but so I have community pages as well on my website, and there's our Tawny neighborhood is called L'Estancia, and it's like the only gated-ish community in this area. And the crazy part is the listing agent doesn't even have a website for it. And so when people Google that neighborhood, my website's the one that shows up. So having every single community named on your website shows up in a Google search. So I don't know if you guys have actual neighborhoods,
That's a great
but having
question.
yeah, I mean, most of our town is not neighborhoods. Most of it's just, onesie twosies, we've got manufactured homes, mobile homes, all that kind of fun stuff. But we are starting to get some of the developments that actually have names on them. So if you actually have those names on your website, you show up when people are looking for that specific neighborhood, whether or not you're the listing agent.
That's cool. That's good to
That's
know.
awesome. Yeah.
Pages. They told me I would have community pages. So that's good. What is your website? Is it your name or?
It's lovekanab.com. So Kanab is the town that I'm in.
Okay.
Karen, would you add that to the chat? In fact, everybody add your websites to the chat. And I would say we could all rank ours, but let's just save that for later. We're just getting to know each other. So I feel like, I still want to foster some friendships here before we start, any of that stuff. But we're okay with our current site, but we're not like in love with the thing. And so I've been trying to get Brian to switch for months. He's gonna laugh, but yep.
What
See,
do you have now?
Boomtown, using Boomtown.
Okay.
So, but hey, so I want to go to let's go to Kristen. What are your top 2 lead sources?
I think my top 2 resources are like my sphere of influence or circle of influence and past clients. Like I've been doing this now for 5 years, 6 years. And I feel like I'm just getting legs. Like I feel like it's just taken a long time. Um, but honestly, like everything, like mailers I send out, I don't feel like I have a great return on those, but maybe they keep me present. Like I've had people say, "Oh, when I do list, I'm coming to you because I like the print that you put out and I like the things that you do." But I just haven't had a lot of people coming through that way, but I do get referrals from past clients and circle of influence. So, yeah.
That's great. Nadine, let's go to you. What are your top 2?
So my top 2 are I would have to say my circle of influence. I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years. So I have, like yesterday, I closed 2, and they were 2 single females. And I did a video that I'm going to post that I haven't posted yet because I'm not sure if I like it, but that's just, it is what it is. But 2 single females, and they were both daughters. They don't know each other, but they were both daughters in our community of my clients. So they loved me and referred me to their girls who were single females. And but I mean, we're in a small town. We have 8,000 to 10,000 in our area, and then Lynchburg, we're a suburb. In Forest, we're a suburb of Lynchburg. Lynchburg's about 80,000 people. I work a lot in the Forest area, but for me, it's really being plugged into the community and sponsoring baseball. We're doing, I've sponsored now the high school musical at the local high school for 10 years this year. And this year it's High School Musical. And I just ordered, if you know the movie, it's all about basketball and other things, but I ordered basketballs with my name on it. And I'm going to do a little card to do the little sticky thing on the basketball because they won't be blown up. And so
Genius.
I'll have on the card we're 2 musical things at the top, music symbols at the top, and we're all in this together because that's one of the songs they're going to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be there for all 8 shows and give out maybe 80 basketballs. So that really, really helps. We have billboards here, and I've done billboards forever now. Every billboard is a realtor. Park benches at the local Mexican restaurant. And just being out and about in the community. I need to do more community this restaurant or community, that little nursery or whatever. And I'm working on that, but sphere of influence here for me and my database, and just trying to be a brand and a celebrity in the community. So that's it.
Nadine, whenever you're at the retirement age and you decide to give this thing up, I think you can sell all of your slots that you own in your town. Y'all, Nadine literally owns like the Kroger shopping carts. So I'm just like, man, she's got this like mafia boss marketing mentality. I mean, I feel like everybody needs to come to Nadine to eat, like, so I love it. So let's see. Kirk, can we go to you? And then, oh, sorry, he's bouncing. Okay, that's good. He just messaged in the chat. Hey, Brian, I know what your top 2 lead sources are, but not everybody else does. Can you talk about that real quick?
Repairing sewer lines. No, that's not one of them.
He did that this week.
That's where I've been all morning. That's where I've been all morning. We are repeat. So we feel like we do such a good job the first go round, and we make ourselves the resource. We are the phone book. So you want to pick out furniture, you call us. You want a sewer line guy, you call us. You want a construction person, you want your hair did, you call us. So we kind of become that real quick in the system. So I'd say that's number one, is being the resource. So when they're talking, they're like, oh, I called my realtor to find my roofer. And so they're like, oh, who's your realtor? And then we get them as our people. So that's number one. And then, of course, sphere of influence, I'd say Walmart. Go to Walmart. I was at Ace today. I got hung up in the screw section talking about real estate. So it took like 30 minutes to pick out 4 bolts. So,
dude, I think one of our next marketing drivers it's going to be me having you do my errands. And then
yes, I can make it.
It'll be great. It'll save me time. It'll make both of us money.
I'll get back to the office. You'll be like, where's my stuff? I'll be like, what stuff?
I forgot the thing. Yeah, never mind. I'm going to have somebody else go do it. I'll send you on some errands that don't really matter. So,
yeah.
So, hey, I just linked our podcast in the chat. It's our podcast website, thebrianandkendrashow.com. I say by our, it's just, I produce the thing. It's not actually mine. But so I would say the thing we're wrapping up here is the thought, what is something you can do that nobody else is doing so that you can do things that nobody else is doing? It doesn't have to be video. It doesn't have to be mailers. It could be that you're like Brian and you take care of people better than anybody else does. It could be like Karen and you are an absolute Google machine. And whenever people search for all things real estate, well, you just magically happen to pop up. What are those things? And then I say magically, I'm not trying to downplay anything. Karen, you're obviously killing it. But in other people's minds, it's like, I see you everywhere, a new one for us this week. So we just started running YouTube ads. We've run just one, and it's gotten several thousand impressions. It's gotten a few thousand plays. The conversions are, they're okay. But where this return on investment is being measured for me is how many people have come up to Brian in the last week and saying, oh, you're like a celebrity. You're like this, mystical figure. And maybe it's his hair. I don't know. But it's just funny because like it's anybody can post on YouTube. You guys are probably all posting on YouTube. It doesn't make you a celebrity, right? It just makes you savvy. And so I actually talked to Jordan von der Bruggen yesterday. He had his first small town mastermind deal. Karen, did I or Kristen? I think one of you are in that Facebook group. There's like 20 people in that. Anyways, it ended up just being he and I, and we just chatted the whole time. But he's doing YouTube ads as well, and he said the same thing. He's like, people come up to me and say like, oh, you're a celebrity, or like, oh, my daughter saw your seller seminar ad and it seems like you guys are going to do a great job or whatever. He ended up having to cancel the thing because nobody committed to it. So it's just like, how are you going to judge the success? I don't know. But the thing is, it's doing something. So going back to the content strategy of knowing your audience, knowing your context, developing the idea, busting through that fourth one and actually executing it. Nadine, post the thing. It's going to get buried in the feed anyway. And not saying not to discourage you or anything like that, but people are going to remember it, or it could affect somebody, or it could entertain somebody, or shoot, it could get you a listing. And so I would just encourage everybody with that. And
I'll have to say, I've seen agents do videos like in the bathtub, and I've never done that before, but I had a really nice bathroom at one of my listings, and I did it in the bathtub. And I posted it, and it was so funny. And I told all my staff and the girls at the office, I'm like, the funny thing is that my husband videotaped it, but he did not video him helping me get out of the bathtub, because it was a huge, deep bathtub, like a jacuzzi. I said that would have been the real blooper, is me trying to get out of the bathtub. I got in fine, but it was getting out because I had on trouser socks, they were slick, but.
See, so stuff like that, it's so good. So there's a couple of agents in our office that are killing it on social media, and so we have this. And really quick, I know it's time, but if you want to go follow him, I might send you guys a link or something like that. And he's not on this call, so I'm going to talk about him. But he took my stupid idea, and so we have a local Facebook group called Wootown Review, Woodward Wootown Review. And if you guys are in a small town that you might identify with this, it's the local whatever group. It's not always great, right? But everybody's always asking, when are we getting an IHOP? I just don't understand the deal with IHOP. But I said, dude, you should become the IHOP location scout and just like create a character and do this thing. He's gotten so much traction from that. It has nothing to do with real estate. And it's been so funny to see all the conversations that he had with it. So anyways, I've got a ton more stuff. I could talk for hours about all this things, but we've all got life to do, and it's Friday, y'all. So I'm sure you guys might be doing some other things. So man, email the group if you guys have some resources. If you guys have questions, if you guys want to ask me about podcast stuff, like what mic are you using? What, lights, or how do I get started? This is what this is for. So just want to encourage you guys with that. Post the thing, do the thing. I'll email you guys the content strategy. It's 5 steps, and hope you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Nathan.
you
This was
too.
great.
See y'all.
It was great.